So hi everyone, today I would be giving you some information on wireframing. So if you are a business or product analyst, you would have come across a situation where you were asked to do wireframes. So here is a little bit of information on what are wireframes and what is wireframing. So to start off, a wireframe is a layout or blueprint of the application that is to be built. And here are the things that is included in a wireframe. The first one is features and functions that the application will consist of, data that must be displayed to the user, navigations to various other wireframe screens such as pop-ups, forms or full screens, etc. So you can always think of it like when you're building a house, you would definitely have a blueprint of the design and the architect. So similarly, when you develop an application, a wireframe acts as a blueprint on how the application is going to look like and what will the application consist of. So moving on, here is a sample wireframe. So you can wireframe using many tools out there, or you can also do it on pen and paper. So we will talk about that later, but let's first look at this wireframe. So imagine I'm creating an expense management application. In this application, I have designed or I have wireframed the registration screen as well as the login screen. So with the requirements in hand and what type of information I need to capture during registration and login, I have designed the wireframe over here. So I've mentioned the application name. I've also mentioned the screen which I am on. I've mentioned the different fields and information that need to be captured from the user. I've mentioned the functions that need to be executed on the screen, that is registration and login. And also in case I need to log in, I have mentioned the navigation over here as when it goes into the login screen, what type of information needs to be captured. So here you would look at the data that's being displayed, the information fields that I'm capturing over here, and also the functions that I'm executing over here. So here I have the forgot password and the login. So if you look into this, you would be able to relate to the wireframe criteria. So as I said, my wireframes consist of data, features and functions, and navigations. So these are the data that are going to be displayed. These are the functions that are going to be existing in my application, as well as the fields that I'm capturing and the navigations. So this is a set of sample wireframes. So look at this wireframe. Do you find any difference between the two? So yes, the first one is the wireframe that is being designed by a business analyst or product analyst. So this is how, taking this wireframe, the UI designer converts it to a design screen. So the UI designer applies theme colors, applies a particular theme, a component kit which has font styles, font colors, the brand colors, etc. Using that, the designer would be able to design the application while keeping intact the data that needs to be displayed to the user, the information fields, the features and functions, as well as the navigation. So this is how wireframings make the lives easier for designers, as well as also make the lives easy for the product analyst or the business analyst to convey requirements. So here are some list of points that show how useful wireframes are to product analysts. So the first one, it helps to easily communicate and explain the product during reviews. So always it's during the first time the product analyst takes the requirements and then puts it into wires. And once the wireframes are done, after conceptualization, the product analyst might have to take it for review in order to get a sign off or also get feedbacks from the stakeholders or the client. It won't be clients. As I said, most of the time it won't be clients, it will be the stakeholders, or you also might have to discuss with your teammates. So during these type of reviews, wireframes are always easy. It makes it very much easy to communicate with people because you have something in hand so that they can visually see it and also provide feedbacks. The second one, it helps designers and developers visually see what is the product that has to be developed. So it's a first look. So you can always show your wireframes to designers so that they too will be easily able to understand the different functionalities that are brought into the application, and they also would be able to understand who are the users who are going to use the application. So based on that, they would be able to provide proper user experiences and also usability. The next one is, it helps to make quick updates or add new features. So if you look into this basic wireframe over here, You have the registration screen. So let's say the user wants to add more fields to the registration screen. So having this wireframe in hand, the user would be able to view the existing information and provide inputs on what is the extra information that needs to be displayed. So this is when it becomes useful to add features quickly to your product. The next one is, most importantly, it avoids conflicts between designers and product analysts. So in my experience, sometimes having large number of product requirements and features to be included into the application, just verbally transferring this to the design team or the development team, during this process, it might cause certain miscommunications and misunderstandings. Maybe designers and developers might not grasp the entire concept of the feature or what you're trying to convey. So this causes a little bit of conflicts, misunderstandings, and misinterpretations. So to avoid these situations, it's always good to have a wireframe in hand and explain, which makes lives easier for both the product analysts as well as for designers and developers. So here are some do's and don'ts when wireframing. The first one is, keep the list of user stories and feature requirements at the side. So when you're always wireframing, have the list of features that need to be incorporated in the wireframes. So it's when you have this list, it's something like a checklist. So you can always check off the features that you have included in your wireframes so that you do not miss out any features. The second one is, include the exact data that must appear on your app. So it's always during wireframing you would have the full knowledge of what you're trying to put into the wires, and that's the time data and information might pop up in your mind. So it's always good at that time to note down all the data that comes up to your mind, and also what is the data that you want to display to the user. If you're not able to fully accommodate it in your wireframes, I also advise you can use Excels or Word documents and mention the screen and also the data that needs to be appearing on that screen. So in that way, you do not miss out any data or information that needs to be displayed to the user. The next one is, clearly define all pages, alerts, pop-up names, etc. So by clearly defining the pages, alerts, and pop-up names, the designers or the UI people, they would be able to easily understand and locate and navigate to your wireframes so that it does not create any miscommunications or confusions around. So always try to categorize your wireframes or name your wires so that it's easy to locate and easily it's accessible. The next one is, add links for all wireframes. So as I said, add links, navigation links from screen to screen, so it makes it more easy to understand the different navigations through your application. Do not miss, because it's here the stage that you have to mention what is the navigations. So always do not miss out mentioning the navigations, because that also plays an important role and can easily be misinterpreted and misunderstood. The next one is, make sure your wireframes are easy to understand. Do not complicate your wireframes, because the wireframes need to be very simple so that it can be understood by your stakeholders. It can also be understood by your development team, by the developers and the designers. So always make sure that your wireframes are easy to understand. The last one is, it's always best to use a tool so that you can avoid loss of wireframes, and also it can be useful for quick access and for reviewing. Moving on to the don'ts. So the first one is, do not overdo the wireframes. And when I say do not overdo the wireframes, I mean do not focus on design a lot. So in my experience, I understood that it's not my duty to focus on designs. It's the UI interface people who will be responsible for that. So it's always my duty is to mention the clear features and the data and the navigations. And I need to stop till there. So do not overdo your wireframes and focus on theme colors, font size, etc. Leave that up to the UI designers. The next one is, do not take much of time for wireframing. So generally when you tend to add more design and give more importance to design, colors, etc., you tend to take a lot of time. So always try to cut short your time by omitting these certain criterias and certain sections which are not important and you need not concentrate on. Spend as much time as you can when you're trying to put in features into the application, when you're trying to figure out navigations, and when you're trying to put in data into your application. You can spend as much as time as you want. But when it comes to adding designs, colors, fonts, etc., do not spend any time in that, because it's not required. The last one is avoid as much as possible pencil wireframes. So if you're a team that's working together at the same location, then pencil wireframes are good. But if you're a team working remotely and in different locations, then I suggest you go in for a tool where you can wireframe. Why I say this is because when you have a tool, you would be able to visually show the wireframes during meetings, online meetings and reviews. You would be able to also collaborate with other people together so that they can add updates and feedbacks to your wireframes. You can also maintain versioning of wireframes, and you can also have quick access, and you would never have the worry of losing the wireframes. So that's why I always suggest go in for more of a wireframes where you can do it on a tool rather than on pencil and paper. So last, I would be giving you, this is the information of the popular wireframing tools that are out there. So it's Adobe XD, you have Draw.io, Microsoft Visio, Balsamiq, Lucid Charts and Smart Draw. So using either of these wireframing tools, you can go in for wireframing. Most of it is very much easy to understand and grasp with a less learning curve. So you can go in with any of these softwares and you can start wireframing. So this is a little bit of information on wireframes and how they are useful and what are the do's and don'ts. So if you found this video interesting and useful, please do give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do subscribe and also do share your feedbacks. Thank you.